So, in this week's lesson, you're going to be learning about overloading methods. We have been developing the person class over the course of these videos. We have instance data at the top, and here you can see we actually have two constructors for our class person. Constructors are special methods that have a special purpose. They start with the word public and are always identical to the name of the class. As you can see, we have actually done overloading of the constructor, which means that we have two different options when it comes to creating person objects. The first person constructor requires a string and an integer, but the second overloaded constructor, although it starts the same, it's said to have the same method signature, it differs in what parameters are required. The second one takes a string, an integer, a string, and a double. You can have as many constructors as you want as long as these parameters in the parameter listing differ. So if you recall, we had created a person object, a single person object, and we're calling that week 6, where we'll call it week 6 and week 7. Because I wanted you to see an example of using the other constructor. So above, we use the first constructor, and here you can see that we created an object using the second constructor. So let's just go ahead and run this. And as you can see, we identified Rich, age 52. The hair was blonde, and the height, I think that was height. Let's double check. The height was 5'7", and then we called the grow command, and it said that he grew, and then we changed the hair color, and we saw evidence of that. Now, the other thing I want to talk about, so when we have multiple versions of the same method, that's called overloading. So you can overload a constructor. You can also overload any other method that you want. So let's say we create an overloaded version of calculate growth. So what I'm going to do is, just to make my life a little easier, I'm going to copy this method and I'm going to paste it. And let's say that I'm going to add in the overloaded version of the method, a Boolean parameter. And the Boolean parameter is called a lot. So I am going to come in here inside the method, and I'm going to say if a lot, which a lot meaning a lot is true, this will execute. I'm going to go ahead and if a lot is true, I'm going to say that, actually, let's do this. Let's take this out, and let's just have a single parameter. Okay, so if a lot is true, then I'm going to say that our growth, let's move this. I'm going to move the growth parameter out of the if statement because I'm afraid that'll cause an error. So I'm going to say the growth equals we'll say the new height divided by 4. So this is going to be more than before. So else we'll say that we're going to return growth. Let's set it equal to 0.1 to start. We'll just return growth. So I'm going to go ahead and double check. So I have two versions. One that takes a single Boolean parameter and one that takes a new height. So let's go back to our driver. So Java's going to know which one to use by what parameter we send to the method. So if we go back, calculate growth double was the first version. So let's call the other one where we're sending it a Boolean parameter. Okay, so Kim was the other. Let's just go ahead and make a new, and we'll just call this week 7. Let's just make a new person. Hey, let's say Andrew equals a new person. We're going to say Andrew 23 Brown, and we'll say 510. Then we're going to say double Andrew GA for grow amount equals Andrew dot calc growth, and we'll say true. And then we'll print Andrew grew and Andrew GA. Looks like I have to go back here and make another change. Let's go and just say that the growth equals 0.5, just to make, because I don't have access to that other parameter. Whoop. So back here, I had to make sure I put return statements in the if and the else, otherwise this wouldn't compile. So let's go back and run our driver and test our code. Okay, so since I sent true to calculate growth, when I received a true, then the growth amount was 0.5. If I go back and change the growth amount to false, the growth amount should be 0.1, which it is. So you now have seen evidence of overloading methods and overloading constructors. Whenever we overload, the only thing that is different, the method signature is always the same, but the parameters in the parameter listing are different, just like they are here. Okay, have a good week. Make sure you're spending at least an hour a day. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.